Scientism means the overstatement of science as a mean to truth. Isn't that right?
So Yakura is asking me for my...
Yes, the definition of scientism is the overstatement of science, of the ability of science to reach to truth or to define truth. This is scientism. The claim is that people overstate science as a way to truth. This is the definition, yeah. So it's going to be a debate. In other words, this is what I was I was asking. Is it going to be a debate or a lecture? I think it's...
lecture.
Lecture. Okay. Okay. That's excellent, yes. Okay, can I ask you something, guys? Do you think atheists overstate the truth-bearing ability of science, in other words, scientists, or maybe Muslims understate the truth-bearing ability of science? Because
I believe philosophy and just simple logic is just the best way to go about it. I don't like to argue I don't like to go into science.
The problem with that is that in order to make logic, for logic to work, we need true premises. In other words, we need the facts of reality. Reality defines truth, not logic. So we obviously need to have sound logic, but sound logic preassumes true premises. So in that sense, science is useful. It's important to find truth because it's the best way to find true premises, to find the truth, what works that relates to the environment. So we cannot find truth only with philosophy, because philosophy presupposes that we know the facts of reality in order to do philosophy. And vice versa.
No Mike No. Even if you go into No Mike No, you'll see me debating with atheists because Islam says so.
Why does it exist?
Because
what are these arguments, bro?
if you can hear me out, I'm going to use the Kalam Cosmological Argument, and the Kalam Cosmological Argument will put you to shame.
Yes.
By the way, there's this Kadhab Murtad in the general chat called Robert Jones 9. He's a bit of a barking, screaming, satanic individual who apostated and he just slanders Islam.
Robert Jones,
is he Christian? Yeah.
Kat, if you can hear me, the Kalam Cosmological Argument completely puts you to shame, puts atheism to shame. And
no, they doesn't. No, they do not. Can you try them on me? Can you try them? First of all, you mean the contingency argument, obviously, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. No, they don't. I don't think so. But they are good.
Why not? William Lane Craig is very well known for the Kalam Cosmological Argument.
Yes. Which one?
He's been very successful.
Because there are many. Okay, so the first one, there is the classical one is that the universe always existed. No, the universe began to exist.
I don't believe it's as simple as them three premises, by the way.
Yeah, okay, but what kind of cosmological argument are you using?
Yeah, I believe in one, the William Lane Craig. He elaborates on each premise a lot.
Okay, can you present this argument? Do you remember it, to present it?
Yeah, so William Lane says, for example, he says the second premise is the hardest one to defend. And how he defends the second premise, he says that if he was to, infinite regress, number one, is illogical.
Yes. And
some major atheist scholars have said this too. Infinite regress is illogical.
Yes.
Number two, wait, what did he say for number two again? So he said infinite regress is illogical and impossible.
Yeah.
He also said that Wait, let me go on to my
yes,
notes.
yes.
Wait.
Go to your notes and let's see the argument. Yes, because
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Or maybe we can Google the specific argument.
Wait.
Joe
Yeah,
said I'm
yeah.
all Joe said I'm all bark, no action, bruh.
Oh yeah, he said
Oh, yeah, I
he
mean,
said
he's not bad. I mean, he's not lying.
he said the universe began to exist. Of course, this is the second premise. He said, since no scientific explanation in terms of physical laws can provide a casual account of the origin of the universe, the cause must be personal. The explanation is given in terms of a personal agent.
Okay. So this cosmological argument is not the strong one. The strong one is the contingency argument. Let me tell you why, sir. Because we know our universe began. We don't know whether the cosmos began. The cosmos is a Greek word that means everything that exists. So our universe, we know with the Big Bang, science proved that our universe began. But science doesn't say anything what happened before our universe. Maybe, for example, we have a multiverse, or maybe there is I don't know, some environment that preceded our universe. So that is that cosmological argument is not that strong. If you can see the contingency argument, maybe, which is the strongest, I think. So in other words, sir, the first premise is wrong. Our universe began to exist. That's not substantiated. Our universe began to exist, but we don't know whether the cosmos began to exist.
Well, everything has a start.
Yeah. Now you went.
So it eventually began to.
Exactly. Now Fitra said a very good thing. Now there is another cosmological argument that doesn't say our universe began to exist, but everything, something began to exist. Okay, I don't know, or the contingency argument goes something like this: whatever begins to exist must have a cause. This is how the other argument begins. Whatever begins to exist must have a cause. And
Isn't this the contingency argument?
yes, this is a contingency.
Yeah.
Which doesn't include our universe, so that works better.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree.
the contingency argument contains of it assumes there is a necessary existence that always existed and could not have been any other way. So we have a necessary existence, and all the other things are contingent. So they depend on this necessary existence for their existence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that this argument is the strongest. The contingency
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that's I agree. That's a good argument.
Yeah.
And what's your religion, by the way? Are you an atheist?
I'm an atheist.
All right.
I'm an atheist. Yes.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Wasn't Socrates a theist?
Yeah, Socrates, as you said, but that's very well said. Socrates was a theist, but the difference is that he was a skeptic, and he reached to theism with his skepticism. So he was a rationalist. Okay, he was not dogmatic.
Socrates, son, can I ask you something?
What's your
You speak Greek, right?
Yes.
You speak Greek, right?
Yes.
Can I tag you and ask you what does this word?
So,
No, because I need to ask him what a word means.
Of course, tell me. Yes, please.
But the thing is, it's ancient Greek, so it might be different now.
Yeah.
But if it's the same.
I think I can figure this out because ancient Greek is a bit different, but you never know. I can understand the meaning. It's not that different. It is different, but yeah, you get more or less what it means.
what's your actual objection to the cosmological argument?
The actual objection to the argument you stated, the objection was the first premise. Our universe began to exist. Science proved that our current universe began to exist, the one that started with a Big Bang. It doesn't say anything about the cosmos, which preceded the universe. Cosmos is a Greek word that refers to everything that exists. So if you say the universe began to exist, that contradicts science, because science says that our universe began to exist. It doesn't say anything before our universe. You know, that's the problem with this specific argument, cosmological argument. But then, of course, theists advanced the argument. And now they went to the contingency argument, where they say everything that begins to exist must have a cause, they say now, to avoid this problem. What I was saying before is that, and what I like people to do is that you gave the example of Socrates. Socrates was a skeptic, a rationalist, that reached to the conclusion that God exists. Okay, but he was not dogmatic, and that is what I want people to do as well, other people. Maybe you will reach to the conclusion of Islam is true, but you need to be a skeptic, not to be dogmatic. That is maybe an atheist can be dogmatic. Of course, that's the good thing, because an atheist can be a skeptic or a rationalist. An atheist can be dogmatic, because communists, for example, were dogmatists. Okay, they were, although they were atheists. So it's not about theism or atheism, is about dogma against reason. So I think the best way for you to be a Muslim is to use your rationality and reach to Islam. Like Socrates did. He used his rationality and reached to the conclusion that God exists.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
I also like the origin of knowledge argument too.
What was that, sir? Sorry, because it
I said I like of knowledge argument too.
Yeah, of course. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So so why are you an atheist? Curious.
I am an atheist because I don't believe. When I see the world, I don't think consciousness is at the center of reality, and I don't think there is a need for consciousness for things to work. So when I see the world, and I don't think consciousness made this world. And also for other philosophical reasons, like, for example, I don't think that consciousness makes sense without an environment or things like that. You know. Yeah.
So do you believe like it's like a wait.
Yeah.
Coincidence. Yeah, coincidence.
Coincidence is not the right word, because we have two problems with coincidence. First, we have things like evolution, or we might say even cosmic evolution, that works with natural selection. So it's not exactly coincidence. Moreover, we have the other idea that says that everything that in some kind of universe, everything that can happen will happen. So that is not exactly coincidence, because everything that can happen will happen if you have eternal time, or So this is it's not coincidence, but it's random. If you use the word random, then yes, I can accept that. Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Ali.
Do you know? Ali. Do you know the argument? It starts by like there are limited.
Oh, hold on. Baha, I had a question for you.
Yeah. What?
Which book by Ibn Taymiyyah did you say was like a good starter book that all the creeds agree on?
No, that wasn't by Ibn Taymiyyah. It's by Imam Tahawi.
Oh,
It's
Aqidah
Aqidah
Tahawiyya. That one.
Tahawiyya, yeah.
Oh, okay. Should I read that one?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Should
it's
I read?
basic and good. Yeah, you should read it.
Okay.
I didn't read
And
it.
what
I
about?
read like like this one. I read that one. I wanna like reread like the original one.
Okay. Have you?
You
What
can
about?
read with like a commentary, but that would kind of make it biased.
I remember. Okay, so you know Lumat al-I'tiqad or Lumat al-I'tiqad or whatever it is. Is there like different sharhs of it, like explain like Hanbali sharh, Salafi sharh, something like that? Sharh. I don't have to say the word.
Well,
Explanation.
yeah.
Like, are there different ones? Like, because I
Uh,
remember Toby was saying that. Toby was like, "Oh yeah, Lumat al-I'tiqad is a good book, but read the Hanbali sharh of it. Like, it's better than the Salafi sharh or something like that."
oh yeah. He's saying that because when you read with a shar, the one who made the shar will be kind of like he will make it look like the book is leaning to their creed, right? So
Yeah.
what he means by the Hanbali shar, he means like Athari Mufawwid shar.
Oh hell no.
And yeah, when he says like Salafi shar, he's like referring to like these Salafi commentators of it.
Bro, I ain't no more forward, bro. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, bro, the difference between Armor and the rest Wahhabi, you got my respect, man. Like, if someone's argument would just be the Quran is the sole objective truth in the debate, he already violated the rule of the debate. By the way, you said other sources claim that Jesus is the man, but not the Q text, right?
Καθόλου.
Yes, there are earlier primary sources such as such as M and L. These sources were also utilized by the evangelists. Or I want to be pro textual criticism debater and pro Aqidah debater one day, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Then I'll be literally the Muslims can't defeat me and the Christians can't defeat me either. I'm gonna be
I honestly, I mean, debating Akida, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Got my name though, Wahhabi. How based is that? At least I think he's glad because I brought evidence for Islamic Jesus rather than just saying the Quran says it, so it's true. Like, you can't just always say it's in the Quran and I can prove the Quran to be miraculous. Like, you have to, like, if someone asks you like what's the proof of this, then you can actually bring something like outside of the Quran.
But sir, you had this conversation, I think, with me about in the text, or was someone else? About,
oh no, I don't. Sorry, I haven't.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me ask something. Do you think that the Quran is an historical authority about the life of Jesus because it was written 600 years later? So in a secular sense.
Yeah, in the secular sense, but the Quran does not claim to be historically authoritative. The thing is, it's a theological book. A historical document would be one which is contemporaneous, written by eyewitnesses, etc. The Quran doesn't claim to be written by an eyewitness of Jesus' life, right? It claims to be a theological book, the Word of God, etc., etc.
Yes.
In it does contain historical kernels, and I do believe its historical claims can be validated with other historical documents which were written by eyewitnesses, contemporaneous, etc. But obviously the Quran itself is not like, say for example, the Quran, it's like whoever wrote it, I mean, sorry, not whoever wrote it, but like it's not like the Quran is like claiming it's the historical document, even if it, like, the Quran claims to be the absolute truth, right?
Yeah.
And history, so this is why the Quran, I think actually, this is actually a good question. So this is why the Quran is does not claim to be a historical book. Why? The Quran claims to be the absolute truth. History, however, the literal principles of historiography state that history is only based off probable truth. So let's say history said something, right, and everybody's convinced that this is the historical truth, but in reality that never happened. Well, the Quran is not going to repeat this historical fact, even if it stated it's a historical fact, because it's still likely, it's still possible that it didn't happen. And in the past, if it didn't happen, then it's a good thing that the Quran doesn't repeat it, because the Quran claims to be absolute truth, not probable truth, right? That's why the Quran doesn't always have to align with history, which is only probable truth.
Yeah, I've heard this argument. First of all, sir, you are very well versed. Very well
Thank you.
said. Very well said. But
Thank you.
I've heard this argument also with science. They say because science is changing and the Quran is the absolute truth, that means that science and history, the authority above science and history is the Quran. That's the argument. But that has because they say that science and history they are changing. Okay, they are not absolute truths. So if you have an absolute truth, then that it oversees with authority things that are changing, like for example science. Okay, but that presupposes, of course, that the fact that the Quran is the absolute truth. So in other words, it's a kind of a circular argument. We assume the Quran is the absolute truth in order to prove that the Quran is the absolute truth. Can you see the circular? Because
with regards to the scientific. Sorry, I'll start.
Because so let me continue to end this. Okay, for example, if we cannot use science or history to prove the Quran, how you know the Quran is the absolute truth? Can you see the?
So with regards to the argument from science, what do we know about the scientific method? We know that the scientific method allows science to be transient, correct? Transient means it changes over time. Yeah. So would we agree that science is transient? For example, in the 1800s, it was proposed that the universe was eternal, correct? And later we found out about the Big Bang Theory. The universe is created. That would just be, I don't know that much about science and stuff, but we do know, right, that the scientific method in its nature is transient, correct?
Yes, it doesn't deal with absolute truth. It's
Therefore, I would say it's irrational to judge an absolute truth based off transient principles.
Yes, but
however, I agree with your argument that you're using the Quran as you're saying the Quran is an absolute truth, but that's a presupposition.
Exactly.
Now, so the thing is, I'm not going to say to you, I have definitive, irrefutable proof that the Quran is the word of God and it's irrefutable. However, I would say there's tons of arguments we can put forward so say for example, right, someone's not going to say I have irrefutable proof that God exists. However, I can say to you I have arguments for the existence of God, correct? I have arguments that would convince you of it, like the ontological argument, the teleological argument, the cosmological, stuff like that. So it's not like irrefutable proof, however it's arguments for its existence. So likewise, I can bring arguments for the fact that the Quran is divinely inspired, etc. For example, you said there isn't historical and scientific proof. However, I would give historical proof in favor of the Quran. For example, the Quran claims that Jesus did not claim divinity, and historically, when we do historical criticism of the New Testament, when we apply historical criteria to it, for example, the criteria of multiple attestation and the criterion of dissimilarity, we see that Jesus never claimed divinity. A lot of things which actually a lot of things which the Quran talks about Jesus, for example, are corroborated with historical evidence when we assess it rigorously. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to say like that the Quran is not supported by history and science, I mean, I guess we could bring arguments in favor from history and science.
Yes.
I mean, for example, some people will say there's scientific miracles, blah, blah, blah. I don't really know much about that, but if there is scientific miracles in the Quran, that might be a thing, right? Or historical miracles. Some people claim that the Quran makes a historically true claim about, for example, the title which was used for the pharaoh at the time of Moses, for example, that's one. But another one would be, say, for example, the body of Pharaoh. The Quran talks about the body of Pharaoh being preserved, and in the 1800s it was a mummified version of the body of Pharaoh. King Ramses II, I think, was found. So I'm just saying, like, basically a summarized version of my response would be, to judge an absolute truth based off transient principles would be fallacious, would it not? And also, we can use science and history to prove the truth claims of the Quran. I'm not saying I'm not saying there's irrefutable, definitive evidence this is from God. However, I would say there is definitely good arguments that can be brought forth. However, I need to kind of go now, so I hope that's
okay.
I'll see you later. Maybe there's gonna be. I think there's gonna be a stage later. So if you want to join, maybe
exactly.
we'll
We will see you later.
Inshallah. God willing. I'll see you everyone. Okay.
Hey, should I invite him to Islam server, Army?
Yeah. Do that. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.
Alright, brother. I will invite you to the server. This is like our server.
Yeah.
This is more active too.
Yeah. Guys, what the gentleman just said. Okay, I think. Okay, I added him as a friend. Sorry about that. I think that because before that he said something about scientism. Isn't that right? You remember?
Brother, yeah, but I have to go too.
You have to go too. Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, no problem, my dear friend. We will be here. We will.
And I sent you a server. Invite.
Yes. I already add you as a friend and the server. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I hope we can talk.
Of course.
Later, sir.
Of course, sir. See you. So as I was saying, this Muslim gentleman made an argument against scientism. What is scientism? Scientism is the overstatement of science as relating to truth. Okay, so Muslim accused.
There's kind of two versions of scientism, really.
Yeah, but this is how
there's a view of scientism where you regard the science as, the efficacy of science. So, is science a good way of finding your way to the truth? Yeah. And then there is like science. It is the only method by which you can find truth. Now that's scientism, the latter one.
Yes.
The first one's kind of a reasonable version of scientism.
Oh, I see. So the second one is very easy to respond because science is not the only way to truth. We also have many others. For example, we have philosophy, we have intuition, we even with luck you can reach to truth. So the claim is that science is the most reliable way to truth. So the second argument, you are absolutely right, sir, and you did well to point that out. But the second part of how they conceive scientism is not the strong part. The first part is that the overstatement of science over all else is essentially the argument the Muslim make, the accusation they make against atheists. But as you witness right now, the same Muslim understated the truth-bearing ability of science, as we all witness. What they said because science is changing and the Quran is absolute, that means that science loses its truth-bearing abilities. That's an understatement of the truth-bearing abilities of science, an overstatement of the truth-bearing abilities of Islam, of the Quran. And in this case, they made a wrong rationalization, a faulty rationalization, and they made in fact a circular argument, and they said, if we presume Islam or the Quran is perfect or is an absolute, that means that the absolute overstates science that is changing. Okay, so that's a circular argument because, you presume that the Quran is true to prove the Quran is true. Okay, and then what the other logical error they did is that although they said that science is not reliable or is not reliable, nevertheless they then used science to substantiate the Quran, and they used history to substantiate the Quran. That's also...
Well, he suggested there was a possibility you could, to be fair. He didn't actually say... he said there might be scientific miracles in the Quran. But yeah, that would be having discounted science as a reliable method to find truth, then to use it to basically establish scientific miracles.
Exactly. That's a circular. Because you're right. Although they try to make it sound nuanced, although look what they did. They said that we can use history and science, or science. History is a science, so we can use science to prove that the Quran is an absolute. Although even that is a contradiction, because science doesn't deal with absolutes. But they said that we can use science to prove that the Quran is an absolute, and then with the fact that the Quran is absolute, we will undermine science. Okay, so that's a circular argument. That's a mess of an argument. That doesn't make sense. But what I like...
What stood out for me was the claim of the historicity. It's like by verifying that the Quran comports with what the Bible says about Jesus, it somehow proves the historicity of the Quran. But obviously, all you're doing is moving the goalposts. Now we have to establish the historicity of the account of Jesus. Exactly. Otherwise, this is like saying Harry Potter book 6, describes the events that took place in Harry Potter book 1.
Exactly.
Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, so that was also. But how this conversation started, I said the Quran is not an authority in the historicity of Jesus. The only authority in the historicity of Jesus is the New Testament and some other, Josephus or some other non-Christian sources, which are... Okay, so the Quran, because it was made 600 years later, and because it's got an obvious bias against Christianity, it's not an authority for the historicity of Jesus. But then the gentleman said, but because the Quran is an absolute, that means that it's an authority over historicity. Okay, so that's a flawed argument. That was not a good argument.
What he does is that he starts with the position that the Quran is already right, but it's a presupposition of him that the Quran is an absolute, right? But the point is, why would you grant that to him? He needs to make an argument in the first place why the Quran in the first place is an absolute.
Yeah,
you can't go on with a later source and then use a later source to judge an earlier.
Yes.
What's commonly known is that the earlier the source is, the more authoritative it is.
Exactly.
You don't use something that comes 600 years after to talk about something which, like, if I want to describe something about the Second World War, right, War II, and about Hitler, I'm going to use sources from around that time, right? Writings around that time, sounds about that time, movies around that time. I'm not going to use like a script that came 600 years after World War II.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, exactly, yes. But yes...
Yeah, all he demonstrated was it correlated. In his understanding of the Bible, the account in the Quran that he wants to put forth correlates with what's said in the Bible, and that demonstrates nothing.
And that is the danger with Islamic thinking. What they are doing is they challenge the first principles. Okay, they replace history, truth, history, morality, with Islam. Okay, so there is an Islamic history, Islamic morality, Islamic... Okay, so they challenge the first principle. They challenge how we can know things, or what is moral, what is rationality. Okay, so they put Islam in a very high place, overshadowing everything else, being the how you say? The
authority is a good word.
Yes, or the thing that the thing that defines the objectivity of everything.